cloud. So in talking with people, people are nervous about this, but there's nothing to be nervous about. And I want to answer your questions and make it clear. Today's session is just going over top level. What the heck is Microsoft 365 or M365? And how do I get to my stuff? So without further ado, let me share my screen. And if we were using Teams, I could use the fancy new Teams thing, but I'm not. So we're going to just do it the old-fashioned way. Just a moment. Come on, Bubba. Go. Oh, forget it. There. So I want to hear from you guys. What do you think Microsoft 365 or M365 is? Unmute yourself and have at it.
Isn't it just a suite of different programs such as Microsoft Excel, Word? That's the only two that comes to mind.
Yeah,
PowerPoint, the third one.
yeah, it is. Anybody else?
It's a fully cloud-based product.
Yes, it is.
It's a little scary at first. I will be one of those people to admit that.
But you can't break it. How many times have I told you that, Tammy? You can't break it.
Multiple times.
It's also got the sharing features that a lot of us have come to appreciate about Google platform, the Google platform
Right.
for
Right.
live collaboration.
Yes. And it is very similar to Google, but it's better.
Amani says it's an iCloud program you can use anywhere.
This is true. And the reason why we're doing it.
And
Plus-
Lauren says all their software in one package.
Yes. Yes. And the enhanced security features. So we have all their stuff in the cloud where we can access it anywhere, and we have enhanced security features. But the one thing that makes it very different from Google is it's collaborative. Their model is based on making it easier for you and your team to collaborate on by chat, on documents, in meetings, in calendars, in email, in all the things. It's set up so that it's all seamless. And that's where Google Drive, yeah, you can, there's like, I can open my email and see my calendar on the sidebar, but those are separate, kind of disconnected. It's not like they're all together. Like I can open my calendar on a tab, I can open my tasks, Google Drive on a tab, even though they try to make it work together, not 100% like Microsoft. So yeah, you guys nailed it. Cloud, just going back historically because of from COVID on, COVID, Helene, the fires, all of that. We found a huge need to access our H drive files from off campus because we weren't here. Well, and with Helene, we didn't have power or internet for a while, but this will allow us to do it and still have the same security features. So collaboration, cloud, and it's seamless. Okay. And that is illustrated through my crappy graphic that I threw together. So it all lives in the cloud. We back it up using the same backup methods that we use for our G&H and all our other stuff.
Sorry.
You can access these same folders, files, applications on your desktop or slash laptop, and also your phone, your mobile device, a tablet. You can put Teams on your phone. So when you're used to getting Google Chat on your phone, you can get Teams chat on your phone, and they pop up and they operate the same way. I put OneDrive, Teams, and SharePoint. I'm pointing to it. I should be using this. These three at the top, because those are more like dashboardy altogether views. These are individual products. And you'll see that because you'll see that your files are going to start cropping up in places throughout Microsoft, and that's the collaborative nature of it all. So where do you start? For you old timers, which I'm scanning through the people, Connie, Tammy, Margot. Remember when I said share.blueridge.edu? Erase that from your minds. It is no longer the place to go. It's insider.blueridge.edu. In the cloud, if you're at home, you go to insider.blueridge.edu and you can get to all your stuff. And I'll show you that in just a second. Sarah, are you sending me messages so you can see the little pop-up? Look at my pop-up. So you'll see this in Heather's training, a version of this, but this is my condensed down version. Hers is do's and do nots. Mine are can and cannot. You can use all the Microsoft tools. You are licensed to use all the tools. There are just a few that you will have to have licenses to use, like Power BI. You can use Power BI, but if you want to use it to the full extent, everything that's available, you have to have a license. Visio, you have to have a special license. But for the majority of the products, you are licensed to use it. And students have a license to use it. So that's one good thing to keep in mind. For Teams, the breaking point for all of this is the email migration. So we're going to operate one way until we hit the email migration, and then we're going to have to make slight adjustments. You can make internal Teams calls. Like I can do a Teams meeting with all of you, but if I wanted to do a Teams meeting with Bob, I could not because it won't call externally. Even though we can all participate in Teams calls, like if you've been on a system office call, you can participate in them, but you cannot create an external Teams call. Plus, Bob wouldn't even know how to use Teams. You can find answers because we've put the answers throughout Microsoft. And I'll show you in a second, but a big source of answers is going to be in the help desk articles, and I'll show you that as well. Do not, or I used one of Heather's words, cannot reach frustration level because the answers are there. You just have to look for them. You have to be curious enough to look. I know the answer's out there. And if we don't even have it, you got Google, you got ChatGPT. ChatGPT is my best friend right now. And you've got Copilot. You've got the free version of Copilot. So use it, ask it. It will tell you exactly what you need to do. So this is another one before pre-email migration and post-email migration. To share a link, to share a document in Microsoft, you have to copy the link first before email migration. Copy the link, send them the link. After email migration, you can just click send, and it will, because it's hardwired to go to Outlook. And that's why you have to copy the link since we're still on Gmail. I'm going to start with the cannot. You cannot create your own team or group. We've turned that off. And I could show you the plethora of test A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I even have a site named number one, the number one. People messing around with it and creating massive clutter. And I'm not talking a little bit, I'm talking 100. So we've turned that off. We're starting with the base. Your department is your team. So we're giving you the tools to communicate at the division level and at the department level. Beyond that, if you find a need for a team or a group, you can request it. We've already made it live on the forms portal. Once it's approved and Heather and I check it out, it's automatically created and sends you an email. It's just a way for us to vet the creation of sites so that we're not getting all that noise and scope creep, because it's harder to manage that way. And what would you request a team for? So I don't think there's anybody here, but I've made a business office team site and I've made an HR team site for them to communicate. But as you guys know, they work together on many things. Payroll. That would be a good use case for having a payroll team site for them to do all their collaborative work within that. Another example is grants. There are so many grants, and we're trying to get our arms around all of the grants that this college does in all the different departments. We've created a grants site, and we're going to build that process in that team. So that's an example of a non-division department request for a team. All right, so that's my final slide. Any questions before I start showing you the real deal?
Amy, I have a question about creating, like doing Teams calls. You said students can use Teams. Are students going to have Teams loaded? Because students have a different version that doesn't have Teams?
I would have to look at that. It is my understanding they can do the same thing. Now, if we're gonna let them do calls, I would think not. But we are doing employees first,
Mhm.
and then we'll deal with the migrating the students, because that is a whole nightmare that was created years and years ago, to get them fully on Microsoft.
Yeah.
So they do have a license, they can use the products, but using the products to the full capabilities, there may be some stops until we can figure out how we're going to migrate them to Microsoft.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I have a question,
Mhm.
or I guess a comment. This is Karen. So with the conversation about students being able to have meetings, use Teams to have meetings, we do have students do group projects. And because we have students on multiple campuses, that might be convenient. That might be a convenient way for them to have a meeting
Mhm.
if they had a virtual way to do that. So I'm just throwing that out there, not saying that they need that, because they could probably do a Google Meet right now, or they can FaceTime or do a group phone call, or,
Right.
they can figure out a way to do it. I was just saying if that were available to them, they would probably use it in our program when they're working on group projects.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is a bridge that we will cross, once we address the students and figure out how to migrate them, because they will still be using webmail on Google until we
Okay.
figure that out. And
Okay.
it's more of a technical issue. Like I said, it was created long ago. I'm not going to get into the details of it, but we've got to figure out how to do that. But, one group at a time. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. And we do have meetings or training on teaching in Microsoft. So we'll have some basic stuff. I'm going to be sending out a revised schedule, hopefully later today. I was going to send it out Friday, then Monday, now today. but I just haven't had time. But so we'll have 2 sessions on teaching in Microsoft, and then Sarah and Heather and I will move you forward, and Sarah will start taking over, the day-to-day stuff using Microsoft in with your classes.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to throw that idea out there that if and when it becomes available, we would offer it to them as another way to meet.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the nitty-gritty. Remember I said insider.blueridge.edu. That's the way to go. That's how you get to everything. And like I said before, that's the wrong thing. You have it where you can access stuff from your computer, applications, programs on your computer. And when you have Windows 11, Office 365, and how you know that is your little window guy. I hope you guys can see this at the bottom. Your little window guy is in the middle of the taskbar, not to the left. If it's to the left, you're still on Windows 10. In the middle, you're Windows 11. You also want this little blue OneDrive icon, which apparently you have to sign in. Pay attention to that. If it's got a little line through it, you got to sign in. Then anything that you use on your desktop, if you're taking a file from the cloud, from your team site, from your OneDrive, and you're opening it in a program on your computer, it will automatically sync up to the cloud. You have to have autosave on. I think that's on by default. I know I didn't change it, but it'll automatically sync to the cloud. So remember, in all my stuff, the waffle is your friend. Please remember that. The waffle is your friend. Because when you click on it, you probably won't see all the things here, because I'm in and out of all of them. But if you don't, you can click more apps and you can find the application. And the more you open it, the more it'll show up here. And you can also, I think you can pin it. Yeah, you can pin it to your waffle. So that's how you get to your OneDrive, Word, SharePoint, Teams, all the things.
She opened
For-
that menu to pin it by right-clicking on the icon.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. You guys can't see my mouse or when I'm pointing to my screen. You can also use the search. And this is one thing that I had to get in the habit of doing because you old timers remember in old SharePoint, search did not work. She did not work at all. Steve and I have lost several hours of our lives trying to get it to work. But this one out of the box works like a charm. So use the search. If you can't find one of your documents, use the search bar. If you need to find a person, you can use the employee directory, but you can also type their name in the search bar and it will give you their contact information. The other thing here is this left-hand navigation, and I don't know why that's blank. I never stopped to think about it or research it, but this blank space is actually this top navigation, just repeated. But here's my sites, and this is where this little following is your friend. Following, favoriting, pinning, the waffle, they're all your besties now. Because when you go to your team site, follow it. Click the star so that you're following it, and it will show up right here. In this little globe navigation, it'll show up in that. You can scroll it, you can see more. This top section are things that you go to frequently. So the more you use your teams, the more they're just going to show up here. Going back to where I said, don't get frustrated. The answers are there. Before I navigate off this, learn M365. It's in the top navigation. It's a prepackaged site from Microsoft, which I've zhuzhed up a little bit and made it a little bit more. I added the link to the help desk articles and just kind of rearranged everything. All of these playlists and resources are how-tos on every product they've got. And one of these, I think it might be this one, and I'm not going to open it because it's just straight a list of every single product that Microsoft has. And if you click on it, then it gives you real quick videos how to use that product. This is a great source of information. And if you want to start anywhere, start here. And also, if you scroll down, we have this learning pathway resources, and those are short, 1 to 2, maybe 3 pages, quick guides. So if you don't know how to use Teams, you can see from this little help me,
Thumbnail.
thumbnail, thank you. Senioritis is just horrible. But this little thumbnail, you can see it explains what all the things are in Teams. Cheat sheets, use them, they're great. They have them for Teams, for SharePoint, for Word, PowerPoint, Excel, all the things. So I'm encouraging you to please use the Learn M365 link in the top navigation. The other thing are the help desk articles. I've linked straight to the Microsoft Platform help articles. Heather and I keep adding stuff to this. Let's see. How to share a file before email migration, just what I said. How to copy a link versus send it. What even is a team site? How to sync your team files, site files to your computer. That is really important because if you're used to using G&H, you're going to want to do this. And speaking of that, bank. So everybody's used to using G&H. When you have Windows 11, Office 365, and OneDrive enabled, your OneDrive automatically shows up. You'll see your name and Blue Ridge Community College. If I open a file from here in Word, it's going to automatically sync to the cloud. If I sync your team site files to your computer, it uses the OneDrive connector, this little hoo-ha down here, and it syncs those team sites so that I can do the same thing like I did with my H drive files with my team sites, my cloud files, so I can access them all from here. So if that's the way that your workflow, I highly encourage syncing your team site files. You're going to find throughout Microsoft, there's 50 million different ways to get to the same thing. And you are responsible for figuring out what's the best workflow. And we encourage you to think about it in a kind of a different way. Yeah, this is here, but maybe you slowly find yourself abandoning this and you're just going straight here or here. Those are all my files. Maybe that's the way you want to operate. If I open Word, and she loads, what? All my Word files are right there. So maybe that's your new workflow. So explore and see what works best for you. Okay, does anybody have any questions? Do you guys need coffee? Okay. So I want to look through this. I want to say a good portion of you guys have already migrated your files. Grayson, since I can see your face, have you been using your files and how's it been for you?
Really, the only ones I've been using has been the shared ones I've had with Walt, our CCP sort of coordinator here at Transylvania. And so far, it's worked fine. Like he's been able to upload the files into our shared folder, and I've been able to pull them and print them, no problem. So far, it works good.
Awesome. Awesome. Um, I know people have got lots of questions because it's the unknown. But once you start using it, it's going to make a whole lot of sense to you. Like I said, OneDrive, SharePoint, and Teams are going to be your hub-like sites where all your things are brought together. You saw in Word, those are just my Word documents. What's I think if you go to Copilot, that also is a kind of hubby site. Um, so check it out. That Copilot, the free version, and what you guys see will probably change over time. And it's just like ChatGPT, where you have the free version, you have limited, questions that you can ask it. There is a higher licensed version of it where you can ask more questions and do extra stuff that does have a cost to it. We're just getting into that because, we were going down one path with SharePoint and Microsoft, and then all of a sudden AI exploded, like after we were already out of the gate. So we're kind of trying to get our arms around all the changes, and they're coming fast, and there's lots. So we'll keep looking at that. And and Heather can talk to Copilot too. I've used it for Microsoft stuff. And if you get into it, you can, where's the best way I can do this? Right here. So in Teams, once we've migrated email, tell me what I have on my calendar today. Tell me, what I've got on my calendar this week. Tell me like this. It suggests stuff. Since Zach at this time when I opened this was the last one that I had a conversation with, organize the latest from Zach by, all his emails that he sent to me. So it'll be really useful as we're moving forward. It's something to play with for sure. I'm not going to go too deep into Teams because that's Heather's session this afternoon. She'll get into the nitty gritty. I'm just going to hit the high points. It is a hub. And once we migrate email, this is where you're going to live because of the chat. And you can chat individually. You can create a group, a one-off group. I think Heather, Leah, and I have one. Although we're all three members of the IT, Jason and I have one, even though we're members of the IT. We can have individual chats in addition to the team chats. The whole purpose of Teams is to make a collaborative site for you to work with your teams. You can see over here, you can access your OneDrive, you can access Copilot, and you can also get other apps and pin them to the navigation bar, and Heather will show you how to do that this afternoon. There's also, we put the Insider, so you can get to that from Teams. It's the landing page to the Insider with all the, navigation and all of that. So this is where you have to poke around and figure out what you like. And
I'll help you do that this afternoon.
yeah, put plug in for it. As you can see, it operates, the little pop-ups, it operates just like Google Chat. As far as the chat, you get notifications, you decide where, when and where and how the notifications happen, what kind of noise and all that stuff. So it's a great thing to get used to, start using it. And yesterday, or not yesterday, Monday, if you want to practice chatting, Heather and I are available. We love chatting people. Send us a chat, test it out. We'll respond.
Send me a joke or a meme or something.
Yeah. But this is my go-to. That's why it's like bringing all of the good things of Google all into one app. And you can also get to Teams from the browser. You can use Teams in the browser. So you're not restricted if you don't have the program on your, or the app on your computer. You can use it in the browser. And it would probably prompt you to download the app if you wanted. Okay. Monday, everybody had a lot of file migration questions. So if you've got that too, I will answer it and make it okay.
Amy, this is Karen again. I do have a question about files. So
Mhm.
I have moved all of my files onto OneDrive.
Mhm.
And I was, I've been testing it out. So I've been opening PowerPoints and opening spreadsheets and working from there. Or let me say trying to, because I find that not all of the features are there. So what I'm having to do is download my PowerPoint or my Excel spreadsheet, so I have it on my computer.
Mhm.
Then all of the features are there when I open it on the PC. And then I'm resaving it back up to
Yeah.
OneDrive. But you were talking about it syncing.
Yeah. Let me open one. And yeah, some of the apps are more robust using the app on your computer.
Yes.
Excel is one for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
PowerPoint.
Yeah.
But if you just need to get in there and make a change, you can do it through the cloud for sure.
Yes, it depends on what I need to do. I might be able to leave it there in the cloud, but not everything works. So I've been downloading it, using it on the computer, then re-uploading it. But I'm wondering if I don't have something set up to where it automatically is saving in
Yeah.
the cloud.
Yeah, because you shouldn't have to download it. You can, if you've got OneDrive on your computer,
Yes,
you just open it from OneDrive.
yes.
Let me just, I don't even have a Word, do I? Yeah. So I'm going to do the test receipt. And we'll cover this in future sessions,
Okay.
but let's
There's
say,
one that even focuses on Microsoft tools.
yeah. And of course it's opening in the other window. I'll drag it over once it's open. And I'm going to tell you, if you're a Power BI user, the cloud version is way watered down. You have to open it because it's more intensive, processing. So this is that test receipt. You can see up here in the upper left,
Yes.
I had to decide left and right. If you've got auto save on, it's automatically saving any changes that I do.
Right.
And then it bumps it up to the cloud. So if I do this, and you can see it says saving and saved. So I'm going to
Right.
close it.
Is that all it takes is to have the auto save on?
Mm-hmm.
And it
Yeah.
will go back to the cloud from my
Yeah.
computer if I'm,
Yeah.
because like I said, you don't have all of the features, and when I'm needing, some of the changes, I needed those additional features. And
Right.
then, but if I turn on autosave, it's gonna update to the cloud as well.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah. And I'm just
I'll give that a try then. Okay.
say test receipt. And it happens, see the little Amy's
It's
edition?
there, yes.
Yeah. So it does a lot, but obviously it doesn't do everything. But if you're doing something where you're just making a minor change, you could do that in the cloud.
Yes,
Like if
okay.
push comes to shove, you could, but and see the same holds true for, if you're at home,
Mhm.
you could, I think there's a way that you can open it. I'm pretty sure. Well, come on, open location. Oh, so if you're in the cloud, you can open it in the browser, or I
Mhm.
can choose to open in Excel. So if you're working on your computer at home, you can open it in the app on your computer as opposed to the browser.
Okay,
So you can still access your files. If you need the more robust with all the bells and whistles, you can open it in Excel. If you just need to make a minor change or whatever, you can open in the browser. Just make sure you're saving it back up.
okay.
Um, and
And the
I,
autosave is how it saves it
yeah.
back to the cloud, okay.
Yeah, and what you really need to watch, because now you're going to see more stuff in the File Explorer. You see these little green check marks.
Mhm.
Right after I did that Amy's Edition, it did like a little syncy thing while it was pushing it up. And then once it was done, it turned to a green check mark. So
Okay,
if you kind of keep an eye on that, because sometimes if a lot of stuff is happening, a lot of changes have been made, it's having to upload several, it may take a little bit. You could also open this little guy and you could see if it's been synced, it'll be in the list.
okay. Well, I will play with that today.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't remember turning my autosave on. You may have to, I'm not sure.
It's on out of the box
Yeah.
once you've signed in to your OneDrive. And sometimes you have to sign in to your like actual Microsoft product, like Word or whatever.
Mhm.
Usually it'll do it automatically, but if you're not signed in there, sometimes the autosave doesn't work correctly.
Okay,
And I thought I still had it open. I'm going to open Word so you can see where to sign in. Like if given a chance, make sure you sign in.
okay.
Yeah, Ben. Some of the older file types don't work with autosave, and you just have to resave them as a newer format, like the really
Mhm.
old like .docs.
Yeah, well, yes, yes. And
Yeah.
of course, we're gonna have some of those.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, you are. And you'll want to save it as the newer file type so that you can use all the stuff with it. Um, to check if you're signed into Microsoft, I mean, to Word or Excel or whatever, see my little picture that Heather only sees half my head.
Yes,
You can see right there if you're signed in or out.
okay,
And it may prompt you next to it, you need to sign in.
It
okay.
usually has a little exclamation point.
Yeah. Um, Speaking of pictures, y'all upload your pictures. Just upload it because it makes the interaction and who you're talking to way easier.
There's an article on how to do that in our knowledge base that we have linked. I know that Sierra and Karen have been waiting very patiently, so I wanted to dive into their questions a little bit. Sierra's asking, which app is our new Google Calendar? Do we have access to that yet, or are we in the process of migrating over? And that goes back to like our very first like big thing is not everything's available until the email migration that happens in 2026.
Mhm.
Um, in that like suite of products, you can use everything asterisk. Don't use the calendar that you will use it eventually. Don't use the calendar and don't use Outlook. The reason that we're saying that is because technically they exist and you can use them and it'll look like it should. But the thing is, it's not going to sync with your Google Calendar. And any emails you send out of either of those products probably won't reach the intended target because it's kind of like stuck in the Microsoft area. And since we haven't transitioned from Google from Gmail to Outlook yet, those functions don't work correctly.
Yeah, it's not connected to the outside world. So if you, and I'm encouraging you, go look before the email migration, familiarize yourself with it. And what you're going to find is there's a ton of stuff from when we were creating the sites, and there's a lot of internal emails that you will see, but it's not connected to the outside world yet. Not until we do that email migration. And when we do that email migration in mid 2026, it's going to migrate your email, your calendar, and your contacts.
Karen, to your question, since it's kind of related to this, the to-do list or the tasks is like a separate tool. And yes, it does integrate with Outlook. However, you can go ahead and you can use it now. It's also integrated with Planner, and we're going to dive into that in the Microsoft 365 tools session. We're going to cover pretty much all of the tools, what they are, what they do,
Yeah.
and which things you can use now versus which things you won't be able to use until after the email migration. The
Plus,
cool
oh, go ahead.
the cool thing about that email migration is once we've completed it, you get a whole bunch more functionality and new features that'll become available to you. And don't worry, we'll walk you through that once we hit that point.
Yeah. And Heather's going to have a session on specifically on Planner, which is a souped up version of Google Tasks.
If you just want the basic one, that's just the to-do part that you were referencing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just wanted to show you guys Outlook. I myself am going to love Outlook because you can set all kinds of rules. Like I can set a rule that if I get an email from Steve, it's going to make his name, like the whole subject, really big and red and say read me, and it can set the importance. So there's all kinds of stuff. But as you can see, there's already stuff that since we've been using Teams and everything, I can see that it never got to the outside world. None of this has gotten to my Gmail, not until the email migration. But you're probably going to see like you've joined whatever group because I put you in the group. So you're going to see a ton of that.
But don't worry, you don't have to do anything in Outlook quite yet.
No, just look at it. It's good to look at. That's one of those things you can click on it, you can't break it. So check it out. And just because there were a couple people that joined, please put your name in the chat. That's how we're taking attendance on this.
I think I got everybody.
Okay. You're going to find stuff in here that you're like, I don't even know what that is. Click on it, open it, see what it is.
And attend my session.
Yeah. You're going to,
Just, yeah.
yeah. But I mean, a lot of it is going to be, we're offering these trainings and we're going to tell you all this stuff, but you guys are going to have to take the time to click through and look at it, see what you like, see what you don't like. You guys are not going to learn it until you're in it. All right. I don't know if there's stuff that I missed. Thank you, Lauren. Did I miss anything that I mentioned Monday?
I think you
No.
pretty much got it all. Lauren, just so you know, that's okay because all of our online sessions are being recorded and we'll release them later. So
Mhm.
you can just view them at your leisure.
Yeah. Like definitely view them. Come back to them.
Elijah has a question, Amy.
Mhm.
He wants to know, he says, I have folders saved in my OneDrive. Is there any way to put that file on my desktop, but still have it synced to OneDrive?
You should have this little guy right here, Elijah. If you don't, and you should have Windows 11. If you don't have the little cloud in your taskbar, email help desk, and our friend Jason Husk will help you. Um,
Just make sure that you're not saving. You need to make sure that all of your files are saved in OneDrive and not on your desktop
mhm.
and not in your like documents folder or pictures folder. Just because if you do that, I mean, you can lose your files. You should probably just assume that you will, because what happens when you drop your computer? It's not backed up anywhere.
Well, I'm just going to say right now, do not save anything on your C drive. Big period, big exclamation point. Don't, because you're running a risk of losing it. It's not backed up. And I can't tell you the problems that that has caused in the past. An instructor lost all of their course files, all of them, because the laptop broke, couldn't get to it, couldn't get the files. Another one saved everything on the C drive and crashed the computer. Do not save stuff on your computer. You can temporarily save it, but you want it in the cloud. It's backed up and it's protected. So that was Amy being mama. Don't do it.
Elijah, you might find a benefit in right-clicking on whatever file it is and starring it to add it to your favorites,
Mhm.
because that'll add it to your quick links and it'll make it easier for you to find. The thing
Yeah.
about the things that are in OneDrive is that they can be stored only in the, like, you have options. You can let them live in just the cloud, or you can have them like also on your computer at the same time. And so I think what you're asking for is a shortcut, but that's not, since the file is sometimes in the cloud and sometimes on your computer, it's not really feasible with the new function. The favoriting options are better.
Well, and you can also open your OneDrive on your computer. Let me just hide this and that. So this is my file explorer. This is my OneDrive. I want my test use files to bubble to the top. You can pin it to start. You can pin it to your quick access. So you can do some stuff on your computer with the cloud files to make it more visible. I'm going to pin this to start so you can see what it looks like. Yeah, that didn't work. Start. That's start, right? Jason, is that start? He's not answering me.
Sorry, I was muted.
That is your
Is
start.
Yeah, so you can pin it there. That's start. Maybe it takes a little bit for it to show up, but you can pin it to the quick access for sure.
the quick access and start are two different things.
Yeah,
You can
but
have them pinned to your start menu, and your quick access, or either,
yeah,
but they don't automatically both pin to the same place when you pin one time. You got to pick
Yeah.
both.
yeah. As far as the other stuff in this quick access area, you want to unpin and remove pictures, documents, my downloads, all that stuff, videos, because that's directly to your C drive. So you want to unpin those and get them off that quick access. I wonder if you can pin it to your taskbar. No, that'd be great. You can see I pin all my stuff down on my taskbar. Hmm. Okay. Any other questions? Well, that was easy. Look for an updated version of the training schedule. hopefully I'll send it out today. We're going to make adjustments and probably redo this intro to M365 and intro to Teams, the Teams collaboration thing again, and then push back the teaching in Microsoft. So look for that soon. And always use Heather and I as chat examples. And if you have a question, email help desk. That's the easiest way, because sometimes those guys can help. Sometimes it's a Heather and Amy thing.
And
But
sometimes it's like an Amy thing, but Amy's on vacation, so you get Heather, and so help desk will get you where you need to go.
yeah, that's number one. Always remember, email helpdesk.blueridge.edu. Plus, pop quiz. What's the one place you go for all your stuff? Who can tell me? Come on, I know you guys were listening because we were talking at that time.
The Insider.
Yes. Yes, the Insider. The Insider. So use it, poke around, you cannot break it. All right. Well, just a little bit short of an hour. Let me stop sharing. Thank you guys for coming. And happy Microsofting. That's going to be a thing, Microsofting. Awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Do you want to stop the